Let's dig a little bit deeper right now. Joining us, our senior legal analyst, Jeffrey Toobin, CNN law enforcement analyst, Tom Fuentes. He's the former assistant director of the FBI, and the former Secret Service agent, Daniel Bongino. Guys, thanks very much for joining us. Is there a cultural problem right now inside the Secret Service?
Yes, but it's not the broad-based cultural problem that I think some of the media are reporting. It's an insulated, small group of managers within the Secret Service, Wolf, who've been there for a long time, who, in my opinion, have decimated the agency. They've almost used it as a job search for their second career and subordinated the interests of the rank-and-file agents.
How many people are involved in this decimation?
Say it's between 20 and 40, and most of the agents, if you got them off the record, they know who they are.
Well, they got to get rid of these people then, right?
They do, and that's why I think a lot of the people who are speaking off the record, some of the sources are saying that this may not necessarily cure the problem right now.
Do they need to bring in a new director from the outside or move someone up?
Well, I thought an outside director would have been a better choice, but I'll tell you this. If there was an insider you were going to bring into the director position, you are not going to find a finer person than Joe Clancy. He is excellent.
So he's going to be the acting director for the time being, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of pressure to bring somebody from the outside, some very high-profile person who's got a lot of clout, a lot of credibility, and a lot of experience in dealing with these kinds of agencies. Tom, you used to work at the FBI. You know, what's really shocking is that yesterday the White House was saying they had full confidence in this Secret Service director. Today she's gone. That's pretty unusual, isn't it?
Well, I think when members of Congress from both parties start to say there's a problem with the culture, that's the kiss of death. That's the buzzword for bye-bye when they say there's something wrong with the culture.
How much of a distraction is this for the president right now? Obviously, the most important issue is his safety and security, the First Lady, the entire family, and all those at the White House. There's hundreds of people who work at the White House who need to be safe.
You know, I don't think it's a political problem as much as it's a substantive problem. The Secret Service is not doing the job it's supposed to do, and I think the Secret Service has to decide what it's really doing at all. You know, most people don't realize that the Secret Service is responsible for protecting the president, but it's also responsible for counterfeiting investigations. Why? It makes no sense. It's a relic of when the Secret Service was part of the Treasury Department, which it no longer is. The Secret Service should do one thing and do one thing well, but instead, you know, it's got this bureaucratic spread to these other kinds of criminal investigations, and it's just a distraction from what they should be doing.
You agree with that, Daniel?
I do, and it pains me to say that because it was the most enjoyable portion of the job, the criminal investigations. They can be very complex, but I agree. It's an accurate analysis. You just can't do it. When you have things like the United Nations General Assembly and a full presidential detail going on in the same month, how do you expect an agent to go out and chase counterfeiters in New York City? It just can't happen. There's not enough resources to do that.
Here's what worries me is that terrorists out there are going to get some bad ideas. They see some lax security around the President of the United States. I assume that worries you, too.
It's actually, if I had to triage my problems with this incident, it's the now YouTube video tutorial of how to leap the fence in the White House. I can only hope this exhaustive review leads to a better plan.
Well, why don't they build a bigger fence then? What's the problem?
Well, I think they're going to now, but I'll bet you the problem had to do with the Pennsylvania Avenue Beautification Committee and getting permission to build a higher fence. And I remember when that commission ordered the FBI to cut down the trees in front of FBI headquarters because it didn't match the type of tree that was down the street. I mean, so you have other factors, political and otherwise.
And if I could, I'm sorry, just sorry to interrupt, but I also would like to put in a word for, you know, no one wants to live in a police state. And, you know, it's always possible to justify more security. You know, every tourist in the United States and outside the United States takes a photograph in front of that beautiful fence at the White House. That's a great rite of passage. And to put up some sort of horrible-looking fence would be a terrible
But you don't have to do that. There's technology. You can put something on the grass over the fence. Somebody jumps over the fence, and there's going to be some invisible material there that's going to stop that person right away.
You know what? They do it in office buildings. You think they could do it in the most secure building in the United States. I mean, I think that's why we're all so surprised. You know, it's not just the unlocked front door, which I think most of us in our homes and apartments have locked front doors. The idea that the White House is so insecure is just what's so shocking.
And what bothered me also was that there's a button there. If somebody gets into the White House, the residence or whatever, you push the button and sirens go off or whatever, but it wasn't working.
Right, that's what's so shocking, Wolf, because there's about 50 to 60 eyeballs, if not more, on that front lawn from all kinds of different locations without giving anything up here. There's so many different ways to do it. The fact that it wasn't done is really stunning to most of the agents I've spoken to.
Yeah, that was a pretty shocking. You know the new acting director, right?
Very well.
Tell us about him.
Absolutely terrific. A man of unbelievable character. I think he was considering being a priest before. They used to call him Father Joe.
Really?
Jokingly. Terrific guy. Has the respect of just about every agent with any credibility in the Secret Service. He'll be terrific.
Give me your recommendation, what they need to do as a former assistant director of the FBI. Should the Secret Service stay as the principal protector of the President of the United States, or should the U.S. military, elite units, commando units, for example, be brought in to protect the President?
Because the military, it needs to be a civilian agency, not the U.S. military, and it needs to be, I think, the Secret Service. They're trained for it. They're the best in the world at doing that. I agree with Dan that they might have too many other missions with the criminal investigations going. But the protection that they do, it's not just the president, past president, vice president, the families, all candidates that run for president. We'll have that season coming up in a couple of years. The heads of state from all over the world who were just here at the UN, that they have that responsibility and they do it better than anybody in the world. So I think that part of it should stay with them.
Jay Johnson, who's the Secretary of Homeland Security, came from the Pentagon, where he was general counsel. I think it might be time to bring someone in from the military who could be the new director, bring a new set of eyes with a different set of experiences rather than promoting from within.
Daniel Bungie, you're running for Congress, right?
Yes, sir.
As a Republican.
That's right.
Which district?
6th in Maryland, Western Maryland.
And how's that look for you?
We're going to be the upset of the cycle.
Who are you
heard it
running
here first? John Delaney, first term incumbent.
Really?
That's right.
He's